Hello and welcome. I'm Lorianne Lumby with Authentic Freedom Academy and Temple of the Magdalene. And this is my webcast entitled Mystics and Heretics. The topic of today's webcast is the OGG, or should I say OOG heretic. And that heretic is the infamous Eve from Hebrew scripture. I want to begin this exploration of Eve as the original heretic and celebrating her for that role by talking first about the literary genre that is utilized in this book, the book of Genesis, especially as it relates to the story of creation and the so-called fall of man. The first thing to understand is that Hebrew scripture is made up of a variety of literary genres. That variety includes poetry and song, reflective historical narratives, apocalyptic writings, books of prophecy, and myth. The book of Genesis, especially as it relates to the story of Adam and Eve, is a book of myth. A myth is a literary type that attempts to describe or explain the indescribable. In this particular case, the indescribable nature of the human condition. The human condition, as we all very well know, includes joy and sorrow, celebration and suffering, elation and pain. The human experience contains all of that. And the question that the myth of an Adam and Eve attempts to respond to or answer is, why the suffering? Why do human beings experience suffering? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why is there death? Why is there conflict? Now, there is a lot of history and pre-biblical history that more fully describes and explains the origin of the story of Adam and Eve, where that came from, and why it was chosen by the Hebrew people to explain a time of great suffering that they were experiencing themselves. The purpose of this webcast today is not to get into that depth of history, but instead to look specifically at Eve as a mythological being, as a mythological character, not as the mother of sin, as some have called her, but instead as the awakener of human beings. So to begin that, I want to share the story of Adam and Eve as it is usually articulated. This is in Genesis chapter 3. So I invite you to listen to these words. Now the serpent was most wise of all the wild animals that the Creator had made. The serpent asked the woman, "Did God really say, 'You shall not eat from any of the trees in the garden'?" The woman answered the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden. It is only about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden that Creator said, 'You shall not eat it or even touch it, lest you die." But the serpent said to the woman, "You certainly will not die. The Creator knows well that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like gods. You will know good and evil." The woman saw that the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and the tree was desirable for gaining wisdom. So she took some of its fruit and ate it, and she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened. Then the eyes of both of them were opened. This story, this experience of Eve, doesn't sound like sin to me. Instead, it is the story of human awakening. Eve as a metaphorical, mythical character in a story created to try to explain the unexplainable, plays the role of an imagined being, of an imagined transition, or perhaps a true transition, between the human form as simply instinctual, a creature that lives like other animals simply by instinct, a creature that is driven to feed, to quench its thirst, to procreate, and to survive. A creature whose being does not go beyond that place of pure instinct. Eve represents a transition, a point in human evolution, a time when humanity awakened out of the depths of simply being an instinctual animal, and instead began to experience reason, logic, an animal that could exercise free will, that could make choices for themselves, choices that came out of the fiber of their original nature and being. A creature that is inwardly driven to seek knowledge, to seek and explore experiences, to make discoveries, to grow in intellect and skill and knowledge, to become a being that could grow in wisdom. Wisdom, the uniquely human capability to assemble all of our experiences and to determine how we have grown from those experiences, to become teachers and guides for others, to have learned through our experiences what is life-giving and what is not life-giving, to grow and develop not only physically, but emotionally, mentally, intellectually, and spiritually. To become a creature that can enter into the pursuit of the absolute. A creature that seeks to know truth and understand why do the planets seem to move around our own, or the sun, or the moon? A creature that can begin to mark the time of passing through the movements of the moon and the sun, that can understand and comprehend the passing of season, and to observe through nature how we might propagate and bring forth our own nourishment and support. Eve is the one who said yes to the serpent's invitation, who said, yes, I wish to acquire wisdom and knowledge and understanding. I wish to experience myself as something more than just instinctual. And so Eve, as a mythological creature, accepted the invitation of the serpent and partook of the fruit that would allow her eyes to be open. And experiencing the joy of that wonder, that joy of that ability to see and know and understand, she shared that fruit with those she loved and cared for, so their eyes too could be open. We know that there's a second part to this story, at least within the context of the Judeo-Christian tradition. And we'll talk about that in another webcast. But for today, I want to leave us with this. I want to leave us with the question of, how have we been called? How have we been called to say yes to our own awakening? How did that invitation present itself to us? How did we pursue knowledge, the quest and desire for knowledge and understanding? How have we grown in wisdom? And how might we thank that primordial, ancestral being that first said yes to that invitation? And in finding and discovering the joy of that knowledge and wisdom, how might we too share that awakening with others? So thank you for partaking in that fruit today. And if you found this video to be meaningful, helpful, and supportive, please like and share and subscribe to this channel. A reminder that this is a participatory community and a collaborative space. So I invite you to share your own comments, your own questions, your own insights or knowledge about the Eve story. And as we end this webcast today, let us go forth together in love, to love and change our world. Thank you.